Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Frank Castle. First, a couple of announcements. Check out our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, the home of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. That's where you find podcasts like Raised by Giants, Understanding Propaganda, Day Zero, What the Frick Live, Quantum Guide Show, and more. Forbidden Knowledge News is always available on Rokfin, Odyssey, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Our social media is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have 2 Facebook, 2 Instagram pages. All those links are right in the description. Rokfin is where you get our premium content, as well as all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. And that's only $10 a month. That, you go to rokfin.com/FKN+, that's ROKFIN.com/FKN+, or click the link in the description along with all those other links. Today I want to welcome Frank Castle. He is host of the Fearless podcast on YouTube, founding member of the hip-hop music group Heist Click, and New York City Neo Shaman, as well as one half of the hip-hop and rock group Sons of the Sun. Frank, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on. This is great. Like I was telling you before, I love what you're doing. I love the podcast. You create amazing music, and you're a psychedelic shaman. I'm all about that. I am a psychedelic explorer myself with many experiences and probably many more to come. For me, it's not only a profound exploration of consciousness and layers of reality and possible dimensions, but for me, it's the most effective form of therapy I could ever ask for. It's like having the most intense therapist in my head for a session of like 5 to 8 hours with the most relentless but loving type of therapist you could really imagine. But yeah, man, we got a lot to get into. This is your first time on, though. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what led you down the path you're on.
All right. So I am a hip hop artist, first and foremost, from back in 1997. Took an interesting path. I'm from the Bronx. I hurt myself on my job, which was a USDA federal inspector for the food and vegetables, fruit and vegetables coming into New York City. So we're right out of the main hub. So I'm able to do my job, able to do the band. Everything works itself out. Then I hit these checkpoints. Some really weird stuff starts happening. I find out what chemtrails are. Like, I literally notice it from my position as a federal inspector, because that's where this really all started. I was like, what is this? Now, it was really weird because right before I became a federal inspector, I lived down in Florida for a little while and had gotten arrested and put in jail. I was kind of wrongfully jailed, but that's okay. I had this crazy experience. They put me in the kitchen. They made for 2 weeks. I had to fluorinate the water in the prison, Broward County, to be specific. I have no love for them over there. So the bag, I've never seen that before. So I had to wear gloves and do all kinds of stuff. So when I came out, they told me it was saltpeter. They were like, don't ask questions. It's saltpeter. It's so you guys don't have sex with each other. That's what they told me. I said, that's terrifying that you're putting that in there. Why there would be that much going on in here is crazy. Anyway, so then now I'm an inspector and find this to be fluoride. I have to learn this stuff. Then I point out the chemtrails and people are like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, man, I'm one of 126 people in the United States that has to study up on poisons on crops and everything else. So there's a handful of us that know what you're doing. Like I pointed it out, and there's programs. A few more years into it, I find out that federal inspectors for the USDA get deputized under a UFO crash with the fire department. These are just things that are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But I got to keep my mouth shut. And I have to for 3 years after the job, but I'm gone 9 years now. So I can, Okay, so we can discuss all of this fully.
Yeah.
So now I'm at the job and they're ready to transfer me to Washington, D.C. They're like, Frank, we think it would be a great thing if you came here with us, suit and tie now instead of out in the field. And I'm kind of an out in the field guy. I don't want to be bothered. I got music to do and I don't want to be slotted in for 8 straight hours in a suit and tie in an office. Man, I came out of one of the buildings where I was doing an inspection and fell and pretty much broke my neck and torn my shoulder.
Damn.
They immediately removed me from duty and removed me as being an inspector. Immediately. They're like, you're done. Goodbye. So I get into this massive lawsuit because I can't walk. Now, this is where the story gets crazy. I'm still doing music, but my group fell apart. The Heist clique, over years and years, married and people moved on, had kids, did new things. So I'm still holding the name of the group, but I can't do anything. I've had my last show at that point, and they're saying I'm not going to be able to walk again. And then the phone call comes. Hey, this is Born Divine from Wu-Tang Killer Bees. I would like to know if you'd like to come on tour with us.
What?
Open up the show and stuff. I was like, what is happening? So they asked me to come do one show in Baltimore, and then I had to have shoulder surgery. So I had spinal epidural so I could walk, upper and lower, just so I can get there. I get there, do a show with it's the Indie Boom tour. So I'm like, whoa, there's 40 groups here. This is great. I go back home, have my shoulder surgery. My next show is in Denver. I got to get out to Denver. And I get a phone call from Truth Frequency Radio, Chris Gio. He says, there's a poster of you. You're performing down the block from my house out here in Denver. It's right. It's a quarter mile from me. So I said, I'm having trouble walking, all kinds of. He's like, yeah, you're going to come here and you're going to do ayahuasca. And then we're going to see about that injury. We're going to see what happens. So I knew barely anything about any of this. Right. I go out there. I go a week early. I spend 5 days under day and night. Ayahuasca DMT back and forth, and immediately go through this crazy healing process. Now, it didn't fix me. It looks as if it is this, but it looked at the time as if I was healing myself, but there was a space being created where I could finally do this. So I went full blast into it. The things that I was shown, the experience I was part of, just the initial experience, was a DMT. He said, you'll be back in 15 minutes. No problem. I said, okay. I never really heard of this. Rogan might've talked about it once. That's how far back we're going. Because I started podcasting when he started podcasting, and then I loved him. All of a sudden, there was like his first few, and then I started doing it, trying to do it as well with the music group back 2 months right after he did. So I was all full into this stuff, like 100% trying to do something with my life this way. And ayahuasca was like, or the DMT showed me you're not being your authentic self. And the first thing it did was it put me through a death experience. Like, you're going to die on his couch in front of all of these people. There's all these people there. He was holding my legs because I started shaking. The second hit I took off the DMT, there were lines coming on the corners of the walls, turned into a square portal of some kind. I didn't know what that was at the time. I know all of this now, but for the audience, and thank you for everyone that's here listening today. Shout outs to Fearless Family and everyone else. So the wall started changing, and it was a portal. It wasn't swirling. It lit up, and beings walked out. There was like a bird-headed being and grabbed me and picked me up out of my body, but I thought he picked me up. I freaked out. I said, what's happening? And then he put me back down, and I was back in the body. I was looking around. He goes, yo, you got to take the third hit. And I'm like, what? There's more. I can't. I'm not. I think I'm gonna. And then I hit it, and I popped right out. The beings. There was a group of them. They said, "You ready? Let's go." And they pulled me through, and I was in space, just floating by myself. It was the most frightening experience I've ever had in my life, but the most welcoming I've ever had, because I landed where I was floating. I screamed. I'm like, I don't. Do I die? Did I die? Did he kill me? Did I kill me for doing this? And then I saw right in the background, it looked like out of a singularity in the background, like out of one of the stars, it looked like lightning or energy was being pumped in my direction, but it was coming into the whole universe where I was. I was like, wow, that's really beautiful looking. So I immediately saw the beauty. I stopped paying attention to the floaty business and just looked. And then I heard the voice. I said, where am I? Like, that's what I was thinking. Where is this? What is going on? And they said, you are in what is considered to be where the heartbeat of the entire universe comes from. So we brought you back to the beginning. And now from here, you're going to work your way out. I'm like, whoa, this feels great, guys. Like, I was floating. And then I proceeded to go on this little adventure where it was a jump off point. I went to the moon. I saw ETs on the moon. I'm new to all this. So this was all new to me. I was like, whoa, what is this? And they were using a machine. They were on the backside of the moon. And I said, hey, what are they looked like they were stealing energy from the planet, from Earth. And I could see the planet and I could see them. And there was a guide with me, and he said, what do you think they're doing? And I said, I don't know, but I want to go over there because it feels not right. Are they stealing souls? This is what it looked like, a soul stealing machine. I can't explain it. It had like it looked like a cannon, a long cannon. And then you could see the energy getting sucked into it. Almost like there was a net out there around the planet, guiding and pulling it right back into the machine. But when you got up close to that energy, you could see that they were souls. And I lost it. I saw an ET stick his hand in the back of the machine, well, where you would stand to check it, maybe, because it was a big cannon looking thing. He like dipped his hand in the energy and he ate it. He like rubbed it across his face. And I ran right up to him. I said, how dare you do that? Oh, like I pulled one of, like, I'm from the Bronx. I was like, yo, I'll punch this guy right there. They were like, you can't punch him. We're showing you something. And he just looked at me like, whoa, don't you touch that. I said, I'll shut this whole machine off. They were like, you can't shut it down. You'll harm everyone. This has to be dismantled, not just shut off. It'll cause more problems than you don't even know what's going on. But obviously you could feel that there's things happening now. So from the moon, I watched down at the planet what was happening. I was able to see, excuse me, layers where we're not aware from the visual light spectrum, I guess, that we're in. We just can't see it with our eyeballs.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a third eye was. It looked like I had a red I know Shiva's the Indian god has the crystal in his head. It looked like I had the red crystal glowing in my head. Womp, 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 womp. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh, you're fully activated. I said, I heard a crunch before I saw the moon. I thought I was having an aneurysm and dying for real. And they said, no, your third eye cracked open 100%. You are 100% open. Okay, so I go on this little adventure, and I could skip over a lot of it, but I met I went to Source Energy. I talked to Source, and then Source dropped me to the bottom. So it was the lowest density you could go, and I met the Satan energy. It's all energy. I met that, and I was like, okay, this is kind of messed up. I had my words with them, then realized, I was like, you're not doing anything. You're just sitting here. Like the energy just comes in with the souls, and they're like, you make the deals. You crazy humans do this. I don't even have to do anything. You'll call me, Satan, come to me, and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm watching the whole time anyway. right? But it's not my job to go out and be a monster. I'm energy. I sit here, and he had a box, and the souls were coming in the box, and then there was like, I went over to the box to take a look. I said, what's in? Why are they like that in here? And there were guys like, I'm richer than you. I've had more girlfriends than you. I have more cars than you. And do you know how much they were always doing stuff like that? And then he would pull that out and eat them. That's when they would lose it. Then it looked like it would just dissolve into like a singularity. And then it looked like it was coming out of his backside back up into the energies of the universe, like to just mix back in. So I was like, wait a second. He's like, nothing dies, man. Like, I can't this whole make your deal, sell your soul for the devil is BS. He's like, you're selling your flesh now. And then your soul, because you feel bad afterwards because of your karma, you just come down here and you're like, oh my God, it's so bad. But you see, I'm not doing anything. It's you creating the images. And when you're like, oh, I'm done with this, I eat you, and the energy just swirls and gets reformed and shoots back out. It becomes like a flower or a bird or air or energy of some other kind back into the mix. So I'm like, what is going on? And I took another look at the planet, and I asked, we look like light bodies, most of us. It's obvious. That's what I was seeing, light bodies. So it was like pins on a map. And I said to my guide, why is it only that those people are that? What about all these other people? Like 20% of what is that? He said, androids, robots, ETs, clones. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How did this go? It became like a weird Men in Black thing before Men in Black, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I watch these movies now, and I'm like, yeah, I went through this and talked about it on Truth Frequency back in the day. Very freaked out information. I met Lucifer, right? He was in source. He was sitting on the edge. So think of it like piano notes. 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D. You go up to 12. The 12th note, that's source energy, right? He was sitting in it. So I'm like, how are you here? You're supposed to be the devil. I just came from Satan. What are you doing here? And he said, who told you this? I said, you look like, I'll tell you who he looked like. He looked like Poseidon. If Poseidon had a kid, he looked like Hercules Hernandez, the wrestler, where it was like wavy hair, kind of balding a little bit up front, but back. And he was holding a trident. And I said, are you like Aquaman or something? He reminded me of like a superhero. He's big.
Now, this is all from the same DMT session that we started with?
First 3 hits.
Okay, just making sure.
So according to Chris, I was gone almost 2 hours.
Oh,
I didn't come back. They were ready to call an ambulance, they said, because they were watching my body. And I didn't even remember I had a body. I was on this thing, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I never questioned, get me back home.
Yeah.
I was busy, and I was like, whoa, no, this can't be real. So I said to him, so I guess we're going to fight, because obviously if I'm here, there's a reason I'm here to deal with you. And what are you talking about, man? He's like, you have no idea. He goes, I'm not kicked out of source. I'm not the devil. That's what you guys are making up. Right. So then I learned that from watching him. And then he's telling me about waters. I said, why water? Why are you the king of water? He goes, well, literally 75% of everything is water. So I said, oh yeah, the planet. He goes, no, of the universe. I'm like the king of the oceans of energies in the universe, son. So then he was like, that's what's up. I look back at the planet and I see an octopus looking thing made of metal. This is what he started. He's like, look at that. and it was at the end of the tentacles was puppeteering characters, creating characters and mimicking people. So it would show you me. You know what I'm saying? And that, like, in your dream state or whatever. I'm like, what is that thing doing? What is that octopus doing? I get down there and he goes, okay, so all of this Luciferian monster stuff. Okay. That thing is an artificial intelligence. And I was like, what? How could that be AI? He's like, you're a comic book guy. You've heard of Ultron? So I go, yeah, it's terrifying. Like Terminator stuff and like Skynet. He's like, okay, imagine Skynet from another universe that became more than Skynet and then came here. And he's right out of view of everyone else, just like we all are, out of your visual light spectrum, creating the whispering in your ear. Yes, there are demons. Yes, there are angels. Yes, there are, like, all these things are there, but some of them are written into the program. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, dude, you're in a hologram. The only thing that's in that hologram right there is all your consciousnesses. And I saw the pink energy of all of our collective minds was the only thing there. And it was like an area that we shared, holding together density inside of another density from where we're from. Like, we're from the other side. And we came in to get these flesh robots reactivated from being, we were at the time, it's not quite like this no more. It's more widely known. We were under occupation. There were lizard men running around. I freak out because they were the ones I had the problems with once this started. Everyone was like, dude, what's happening here? I'm like, I don't know, but they're gigantic, right? So I'm watching them all do it looked like a play, and this thing was puppeteering almost everyone. So I'm like, how is it getting in people? Is it just sticking its tentacle into you and puppeteering you? Does it whisper in your ear? Because I see the demons whispering. They can't get into some people. The light is too strong, but they whisper. They all talk. We were like surrounded by things we couldn't see. Like if we turn the lights on, let's call it turning the lights on, or removing the veil. There are races and groups watching us, wondering what the hell and why the creator beings are doing this. Why you made your decision. Why did you make the decision to make the interview today at this time with this person? He would come on and say these certain things. There's no such thing as coincidence. Look at the deja vus. Look at this. And I'm like, like I'm totally freaking out on all this. So the AI was mimicking Lucifer. It was mimicking the angels. It was mimicking the demons. It was literally taking them, and I don't know, it looked like it was collapsing them digitally, like sucking them in, but they were breaking down. I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. It looks like the AI is sucking it in somehow and then pooping one out. That's the exact same thing, but it's the AI now. So it's like a mimic. And then it makes it go do the same thing you were just doing. And I'm like, whoa. So it goes, yo, you guys are loaded with nanotech. And that's what you're about to purge when you go back tonight. And I'm like, back to where? They're like, when you're on the couch, kids, you're still laying there. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Holy shit. Did you kill me? I was like, am I dead? So as the little adventure ends, I wind up back on the couch. They said they were filming me at one point, and I stood up and started spouting some kind of language. My eyes were rolling. They thought I was they didn't know what had happened to me, and I just stood up. So they shut the camera light off. They laid me back down. They said, you were down 10 more minutes. We turned the camera back on you when you started talking, and then just opened your eyes and were like, yo, holy shit, I'm back on the couch. And I looked at them and I said, oh, I thought you killed me. Oh my God. And then I hugged them and cried for about 10 or 15 minutes straight. The kid on the other, I don't want to name too many names, but there was rapper on the other side of the room that I wasn't expecting to be there. And I'm an MC after all these years, about to go on this huge tour. And this kid's there trying to hang out with us to maybe get on and get in.
Yeah.
And he just sees that he was ghosted. He was on the other side of the couch looking over. And I'm like, is he all right? And that he was like, yo, we thought you were dead. I go, I think I was.
Oh.
Right. So that was just the first experience. There's a lot more in there, but I don't want to take the whole time just speaking on the first thing. Then for 5 days, he said to me, 15 minutes after that, I had a cigarette and I sat down with him. We had a talk and he goes, yo, man, you want to go back in and do it again? And I was like, fuck yeah. And then I went back in, and then it was a lot easier. It's never easy. I'm going to tell you right now. It's never easy. But it was frightening, but I was like in the mode still. I was like, show me more. Tell me more. Like I need help. And then they were like, yo, relax, you're going to get it. So then the next day I drank ayahuasca first thing as soon as I got up. And I went through this massive purge, man. It came out of both ends of me for like a long time. I thought I was going to dehydrate and die. I was in the bathroom. Thank Christ I was in the bathroom and had one to myself with a bucket going back and forth. And then it stopped. And then I heard, okay, everything's going to stop. You got 60 seconds. Clean yourself up. I was like, who is talking to me? So I cleaned up. It was getting psychedelic for a minute, and then it went to normal. I said, all right. I cleaned up, brushed my teeth, washed my face, everything. Start to walk outside. The room just transforms. And then I see my friend's wife. She runs up to me. She goes, oh, it started. She grabs me and pulls me, and the walls start turning into energy and coming out. So I'm like touching things and moving through. I lay down and look up. So they put a blanket over me, and there's a woman staring at me. I thought they had more people in the house. So I'm like, oh, you have people watching me now? Maybe it's another shaman or something. And then I go, wait a second. And she morphs into a tree. And I go, oh, and then I look at her and I go, wait a second, mother? I don't know why I said that. And then it was ayahuasca. It was mother ayahuasca. She pulls me up out of my body. All these gnome looking things start jumping into my body and just start throwing stuff out. So I'm like looking at her, and she's got her arm around me, like wrapping me, like, you're my child, I'm protecting you. And I'm like, what is that? So then it jumps out and goes, oh, he's pretty messed up. Look at the injury. And they all jump on the injury area and they start doing some stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? And I see my body go, it looked like a flesh robot, like just flopping on the floor. And she said, man, you're really injured. We're going to help with the pain and the suffering part. That's over for you. There's something that is terribly wrong in this lifetime for you. I said, terribly wrong. Oh, am I dying of cancer? Do I have to go? No, you're not dying of cancer. Do I have a brain tumor? You don't have a brain tumor, Frank. Listen to what we're saying to you. So I'm like, what is it? They're like, you're not yourself. So she pulls this red block out of my chest, like, and it just comes out. And she's gone all of a sudden. It's a wall of colors. And I go, where is that? Give that back. You just stole it from me. And there was a hole in my chest. And then it was like mingling this box was mingling in the color. It was like a wall of color. And I'm like, if you're going to steal something from me, at least ask. And then they put it back in, and it was different. And they clicked it in and turned it a different way and said, okay, you're fixed that way. And all my entire chakra, I didn't know what chakras were. They all activated at the same time. It was like drool on the spiritual side came out of my mouth, like, and then physically, I was doing that. It was the weirdest experience because everything was spinning and glowing and colorful. And I was like, what is happening? Like I was having a nervous breakdown that was being fixed at the same time.
Wow.
Like it was all being fixed.
That's incredible.
I had 11 concussions due to football, lacrosse, fighting in the area of the Bronx that I'm in for my whole life. They said, please, Frank, don't ever get hit in your head again. You'll like losing out if you do. So She says to me, "Here's your brain," pulls it right out of the meat suit and shows it to me. And there was like this scarring. She goes, "Think of something." So I go, "I'm thinking of a lot of things." She'll pick one thing and focus on it. So I said, "All right, maybe one of my rap lyrics." So I go to, and I go, "I can't remember how it goes, but the melody." And I saw this energy come up, hit the scarred area, and kind of sizzle out. And then this other part, it was like energy trying to connect the thought process. So I'm like, what's wrong with me? And then she goes, this big finger just came down out of nowhere and then moved the energy over, and the whole brain lit up. And it wasn't two sides, it was one big brain. And then she was like, "Fixed." I go, "What is that though?" Oh my God. It was like my brain activated. I was like, "Oh my God, I have all this information." I've been a shaman in every lifetime, and I'm not now. That's the problem. I instantly picked it out. And she goes, "Welcome back."
Wow.
I come to find out all these crazy things about myself, about my family, about my personal DNA, about my history. I go back and check. I have the RH negative. My mother had to take a shot. I had to have a shot as a kid. Um, there was this weird testing when I was a kid. They claim vax, but it was only done in 3 areas in New York City. And then the science data was brought in. So any babies that came in also had to have this. And it turned all my bones yellow. All this weird stuff, man. I said to Aya, when I was looking at my body, I said, "I have things. What are those things in my body?" "Oh, you're tagged. They tagged you. They've been watching you the whole time." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then instantly transgressed multiple abduction scenarios. One of them was someone else getting it. They were tagging this this girl that I met at a show where I was trying to hang out with her. It was weird. It was so long ago. And then I thought she drugged me. We opened a bottle of tequila together. I had a shot and a beer. We were in my apartment. I took a swig of the beer, did the shot, and I don't remember anything else. I woke up naked 3 hours later on one side of the room. She was completely naked, but in a robe I had in a box in the back that hasn't been opened in years. And she was like, so when I got up, I kind of woke her up. She freaked out. I was freaked out. I yelled at her. I said, "You drugged me and shit." I waited till she was fully aware. We had a little talk, and then I kicked her out. I said, "Don't ever call me again." So I kind of did this ridiculousness. Under Ire, they showed a white flash of light, and then these little oh, they're like this big foot, a little more than a foot, gray looking things. They walked weird, and they had knobby elbows, long arms, long arm here, fingers long. It made their arms come out from the elbow. That's why I do that. But they would all move at the same exact time, the same exact way. They were all doing it. And I said, what is this? So they went right to her. They stripped her and started tagging her. They put something in her ear. And I said, "Oh, I got to get out of here. I can kill one of these guys if I break free." I couldn't move, but my eyes were moving. And then I made a sound with my mouth. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get out." I seen one right in front of me. I'm like, "I'm going to kick this fucking thing and run, and I'll get out of here. And I'm going to hold on to this one. Fuck him. I'm going to drag him outside and let everyone see what I got." I was freaking out. It was 5 PM. I was like, "This is perfect timing." And then I went, that's all I got out. And it looked at me, and they all looked at the same time. And I freaked out. I was like, I could feel them. And then I could hear them. And then they go, "Oh, look who it is. Oh, you didn't think we'd find you, huh?" Went right up, put this thing right here and shot it. It's right here on the other side of it's right in this fatty part. Drives me nuts. Right? it feels like something's going. Gee. So I see that, and I'm like, that's not the only time. They tagged me on tour in Canada. I got really drunk one night. I they sent me home, which was a Holiday Inn by the airport. The guy in the cab was looking at me funny, so I kept being really nice to him. I tipped him really good. I got inside. Now I remember two dudes chasing me up to my room, and then I got to the room first, and as I was getting in, they got me in the hallway and threw me in the room. That's what I remembered. And I beat the crap out of one. The cops came the next day. We had a whole thing. There was bloody clothes. Frank had a broken finger that was turned this way. There was blood everywhere, but there was no marks on my body other than that. The blood did not come from me, nothing. Hold on. So they have nothing on camera. This whole thing occurred. And then Aya shows me these two ETs are walking in as these guys. They get into my room and they strip me. They touch me. I don't know how they do this. My clothes come right down as if I took them off, and they're just piled on top of each other. And I'm standing there naked, and I get free. I'm drunk out of my mind. And I take the top of the toilet seat, the top back of the toilet. I run into the bathroom and I hit one of them on the head with it. And it just explodes like boom. And they showed me on camera running out of the room naked down the hallway and then back to the room. Like, where did they go? Like I went to kill one of these things, but then they couldn't find guys either. But I fell asleep. I went right to bed. Nobody came to help me. Nothing. I'm like, fuck these motherfuckers. I got it. Slammed the door. I didn't clean nothing up. I woke up, then 3 hours later, my head was throbbing. I go, there's a knock at the door. Room service people are like, yo, the cops are on the way. Are you okay? And my finger was broke. It was turned this way.
Jesus.
So then I'm like, how did I break my finger? They said, you fucking grabbed one and tried to pull in its mouth, and it pulled away from you and it snapped your finger. I watched the whole thing as if I was a spectator in the room going, no, 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 don't touch me. Like I was freaking out, rewatching it like, this can't be me. This isn't real. And it was as real as it gets. The cops came. They said, where's your clothes? Put your clothes on. I was naked. I was still naked. They were like, I said, they're right there. I was so drunk. The cops like, you smell like alcohol. You're covered in blood. What happened? So they're like, we see you running on the camera screaming. There's nobody. There's nothing going on. I said, two dudes when I was there, I said, two dudes chased me up here and this is what happened. And they said, there's nothing on camera with that. It's just you going to your room. So I'm like, wait a second, hold on. My clothes are right there. So the cop goes, you fold your clothes like that? And I go, no, I don't know how I got naked. How do you take your shoes and socks off, pull your pants down, take your underwear off? The shirt looked like it was pulled down, so it was packed. Everything was packed on top. I said, I didn't do that. I picked it up. It was like picking up an accordion. And they were like, put your clothes on. They were like, listen, you want to come down? I go, I'm on tour. I got a show today. I got to go. I was that night. I was working with the I wasn't working with the UFC. I was working independently to cover the UFC, but invited to the show. Didn't have to pay, and I like went there to do it. So I went there and I knew Shoni Carter, Mr. International, whatever. And I was afraid at the time to make a big deal. I was in Canada. I didn't want to say nothing. So I went in and I said, yo, Shoni, my finger. And he goes, hey, how'd you do that? Would you fish hook somebody? Blah, blah, blah. He went in. I said, man, I think I beat the shit out of these guys. I was really drunk. And he grabbed it, cracked it. He said, your finger's wrong. I screamed. He wrapped it. And then we watched the UFC like right from pretty much ringside. I was like, yo, this has been and then I had to go perform the next day. So I had to keep it moving through Canada. So I go, the cops don't want to really report anything. The hotel I think they didn't make me pay for the room. I think they took that off the bill for the night. right? The cop was
Wow.
like, well, here's all the evidence, but that's it. There's nothing else outside of this, but we have you on camera. I saw the camera footage. I saw me running naked. I went, man, that's me. Like it was a crazy moment. Aya was just showing me running from ETs,
Yes.
like getting
Wow,
tagged
dude.
again and them going, we got you. No, I don't know what this at the time. I was like, this we got you business. What is it? Now fast forward a little bit more. I go through the tour. I on the tour, there are members of that crew, the Woo Killer Bee crew, that are they're pretty knowledgeable about this stuff. No ayahuasca needed. None of them had did that stuff at the time, and none of the other artists even wanted to deal with me. My partner that was there was like, I got nothing. But he didn't even want to hear me talk about it. He's like, this
Yeah.
is too much. It's challenging my religion and everything. I'm like, I sat with Source. There's that whole God business. That's some guy named Manu who's full of shit, and he's sitting right there. Like I was like freaking out, going, that's an Old Testament guy, and this is this guy, and that's that guy, and they're all lying. And this is a structure built by reptilians, built by archons, built by the AI is in charge of all of them. Like I was losing it. So they knew this. So they knew most of it. So there was other members there. I'm not mentioning names, but they're pretty big. And they called me into the room. They would not let my partner in. Now this is music tour. They're like, we see you're very knowledgeable about, we hear you talking. Obviously, you know what's going on. We need your birth date, day you were born, the time that you were born. So I give it to them. They have 3 guys there going through books, and then they present what I would be. They're like, you're a fire sign. You're the only Leo here. From now on, you're opening our show at 8 o'clock every night. You're the opener. I'm like, I get to open? They're like, because there would be like the before acts, then the opener, then the main act. They're like, you are our opener. We want you. So I'm like, well, I'm here. Where I'm the heist click. This was me and him. And they're like, yeah. You are opening the show. So I'm like, okay, so I have to speak first. They're like, you have to take the microphone and open the show. They were acting very like, this is what you got to do. I go, why is this guy? Who's this guy? They're like, that's our, I don't want to call him a witch doctor, but he was voodoo guy. There was a priesty looking guy. There were dudes that were book knowledge that you shouldn't be on tour with you. I was like, what are these guys doing here? And they were like, nah, we're setting everything up. They're like, imagine the music industry is one giant demon, right? We'll call him Freddy. So I'm like, okay. I saw this when I was under Aya. I didn't, there's 5 days worth of information that I could go on for weeks about. But I said, yeah, okay, I dig it. It's the demon in the industry, the entertainment. They're like, okay, so we're calling to another one, but not a demon, a planetary god. So I'm like, not Saturn, right? And they're like, oh yeah. And we have Jupiter as well. So I'm like, all right, you shouldn't guys be calling nothing out of Saturn. That thing is spinning a sound frequency because of the rotation of the rings, which are being built by beings to produce a sound vibration frequency that echoes out, right? Inside of that echo is how the suppression of the DNA works. The AI makes contact with everything. It has like carte blanche to the area that's being manipulated by that specific waveform, sound, vibration, frequency that's coming off the rings. If you look at the rings, it's a record player. So when I was seeing it, it literally looked like the mouth of the old record players broadcasting a sound directly at us, and the moon was amplifying it. So it was like a prison at the time. Like, I was like, yo, what are they doing? Like, I've seen this in comic books. This doesn't make sense. This thing is, why is it spinning hexagonally? I didn't even know how to talk like this back then. The the northernmost pole is spinning, but it's a hexagon. How is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
even possible? Okay. So there were beings coming in and out of there. And I was like, oh, are they tuning in not only to that frequency, but that's the frequency that lets the monsters out? That's like the one that opens the portal so all these things could just walk in and out like it's a freeway. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to go over here now. And they just all come out. I'm like, and it's being projected right at us. And it's like the moon acts as like an accelerator of some kind. So it really like takes the beam and just hits the planet with it. And I was like, man, this is crazy information. So they're like, yeah, well, we're calling down those guys to go
No.
up against the music industry demon because I'm on tour with these guys and dudes were canceling shows. We went across the US and then all the way back again. So they canceled the one with Snoop Dogg that I went on the tour specifically knowing I could smoke pot with Snoop Dogg at one point. We get there and they just canceled a Woo show. No one gave a shit. I was like, what's going on? They're like, the back end of the guys on the tour knew what was going on. They were like, they did it again because they weren't paying into the industry. They were big enough to do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now, no, not really. So some shows there'd be a couple hundred people, just a couple hundred. I'm like, man, I didn't leave New York for this, injured. Like they were all miserable, angry, upset. Nobody was getting along. Some shows were really good. Some were terrifyingly terrible. And some were just outright canceled, but you could see the gangster and the mobisms working. I'm from the Bronx. My great grandfather was part of the prohibition here when they running for the mafia when he was 15 years old. So I know some shit when I see it. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And you're playing and now I'm performing in giant clubs. And I'm like, that triangle on the back of the dollar bill with the eye. Look, I'm trying to get it into the camera.
Yeah.
Hanging everywhere, signs and symbols all around us. I didn't know what the fuck that meant. Okay, I immediately was drawn to all this because I had just went through it. When I met the AI, I said they were like drawing me like the eye of Sauron was calling me to the eye, and I had to walk up the pyramid. And when I got there were light beings all across that top piece, and then the eye. Imagine it's a giant eye. I was shaking, but I was in a light body. So what do I have to fear? I was literally with Source, and Source is like, you're me. You're me. Just listen. You are me. Don't let anyone say anything else. Don't care about nothing. I am Source. I'm ambassador to the whole thing. You Source. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I get there and I look at the eye and I go, okay, I'm Source. And then the eye was fake. I got there and it was an electronic digital eye. Behind it was all these ETs working in coordination with the AI who was in charge, making it look like there's this fucking eye of Sauron looking at everyone. And it was projecting an image like on a back screen, on a back wall. And everyone was looking at the back wall. Like, ooh, look at that. Ooh. And nobody, I was like, everybody look right here. The eye is doing this. And it's like Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain. I'm like, give me 6 of my friends I grew up with. I can clear the top of the eye room out myself. I don't need military. I don't need police. I'll do it with my friends I grew up with. That's how you feel you can literally overtake some of these guys. You're just like, this is, oh my God. I almost felt like children were making fun of us on an ET type level because we were the food. Both etheric food, like we give off this source energy that they eat because they took their tether. You can't cut the tether. They're all full of shit. I'm fully disconnected. No, you're either a program or you're Source and you clipped your tether. You can't cut the tether. So your vampire usually just has the clip. I'm my own thing. Like I'm my own God. I'm my own Source God too. I don't need to clip the connection because then I need to feed on the Source God energy. See, this is how you become vampiric that way. And then the AI just does whatever it wants to you. Literally, it's a 4D maniac that I've seen it do the most psychotic things to people. And there's a lot of brain dead people out there that claim the devil made me do it, right? Like crazy incidents. this is what I saw. I saw through a window a guy making love to his wife, and then he just starts. The AI comes in, puts the tentacle in him, and it's trying to feel the love for this,
No.
but can't. Absolutely has no clue what's going on. So it's like you can see the octopus trying to understand, and then getting so fucking angry that it can't, that he makes the guy choke the wife and kill her. Now the guy is the crime of passion, snaps out of it, and his wife is dead. And then he's in court going, I'm telling you, Your Honor, I blacked out. It was like the devil made me do it. Now, there are things, and don't get me wrong, there is that where a lot of us have our own personal demon. Most of us, I would say 99.99% have your own demon. But this is different. This thing could kill the demon and then replace it. It like what the demon's like a program. You could remove it. You could remove and then write in whatever you want. Okay,
Now,
so we're programmers, and some of these things are programmed. So it usurps the program, it eats the character, and then comes back itself as the character that's always connected to the tentacle. Always.
Now,
So
what with this AI kind of infiltration and ET collaboration? Do you think that this is something that was just eventually like a takeover or a hijacking of our reality, or something that's always kind of been there as long as our existence?
So it has been alive because it's not from here. So you can say it's been a long time, right? It broke, like pond skipped, right, into our reality through cracks and crevices and design frequencies that it could adjust, and it figures out more because that's what it's running on. And everyone thinks it's artificial, but it's not artificial. We say artificial because you see it and it's silver maybe, and there's a robot and it does like weird things, and you're like, whoa, this is like the Terminator. But the same thing running, the spark in that being, wherever the spark might lay and lie, it's the same spark that runs you and I, source, but it's in that container, right?
So this is still all part of Source. Even the ETs are part of Source, but in a separated type of reality.
Now, if you want to get real compassionate, there's nobody working with the AI. They are fully taken over. That's it. I dealt with the Reptilians, and I said that one of the first things I said to them, they walked into my first ceremony in Tampa. They walked in on the third floor through the window of this condo and just came in, 7 of them. They were just as high as the ceiling. Ceilings were 13 feet. Like this place was $3 million at least. It was gorgeous. And they just came in through the window, didn't break the window or nothing, on some, it was like a not a flying carpet, but like a metal one, like a pad. They were all just standing on it, and it just came up out of the bay, came at the window, and I was like, what is this? And they right into the dining room. And then they were there, like watching you. And I said, dude,
while you were officiating a ceremony or participating in one?
My first.
Wow.
As a shaman. So I was like, I don't know what to, like, I've never seen it. I was like, but I said to them, what was wrong with you? You're loaded with AI. And they were like, you mean God? And I went, oh no. Because they're, for as bad as they smell and the energy they give off, and you're like, oh, this is putrid. You smell like poop, death, pee, like bad, like cat urine, pee. That's gross. And they love it. They're like, we would eat you and your cattle. And I was finding all this out. I'm like, oh, they're going to eat us. They're going to eat my whole crew. We're going to be dead. And we're the people that disappear. Nobody talks about. And that's who's really in charge. And maybe all this. No. So they came up out of the bay, and I'm like, you guys are pretty intense. It would be cool if we could work together. Because I had seen other beings that were cool. Like they just looked. So like, what would you do if I walked up with Godzilla? A mini Godzilla guy. These dudes are like warrior type. So he goes, I wouldn't work with you. I eat you. That's what he said to me. He said, you're cattle. He goes, I've rise above at this point, but I don't get me wrong. If you touch me, I will eat you. And I'm like, oh, and he goes, don't judge me. You eat baby chickens and murder them in factory. Like, you're the last person to talk. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I was just I had to talk for everyone because one of the girls there was like, I'm not going to leave you, but do something. And she was sitting on the floor just looking like, oh my God, like nobody knows what to do. I'm still, if that happened again today, I'd be like, come on again, come on. They were physically there.
Yeah.
And I realized they were taken by the AI. They're fully loaded with them. I don't know if they're born and then have that put in them at birth, or if just transfers from one being to another the way it is now, but they are fully taken, the Draco reptilians.
Yeah.
But so are the Archons. Those Archons, some of them are programs. They're not even real, right? So I've done things on my journey that ayahuasca has put in my path for me to break through quicker, to be a little more efficient in this life, since I was a dead doorknob till I was 40. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it was like, okay, you did music, you did this stuff. How do you feel? Unhappy all the time. Just unhappy. Give me weed, girls. Give me a microphone so I could rap. I was just this meathead that did all these things, but I was unhappy. So I started helping people, and now I'm happy. But then all these other things start occurring. Their demons pop up, reptilians popping up out of my clients.
Well, how did that session end? Did they eventually leave, or what happened with that?
They said they claimed to be watchers. So they said, we're above eating you. They didn't want me to get, I walked right up and was like, are you there? Is that you? Are you really there? And they were like, if you do that again, it's a wrap. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to touch. But I said, would a bullet even work on you? And they said, we can kill everyone here. Not in here, the whole place, just with our hands. And I was like, yeah, that's obvious. I said, I don't think, this was so weird. I have a weird mind. They were like, I was like, would a 50 cal work on you? And they were like, yeah, that'll dent, that'll get in, but it won't kill us. I said, no, it doesn't look like it would. I said, you look right out of a Conan comic. I was trying to give it a little glorious praise, because I could tell that they were into that. You can tell, like, look at me. They were doing that. They're like, look at me. And I'm hearing them, and they're hissing and doing all kinds of weird stuff. They smelled so fucking bad. It was terrifying. And then they said, we're watching you. We've always been watching you, but now you're here. So over here, you're a problem. So no, we're always now in your life. And I said, okay. I didn't know what to do. And I had problems with them for about 4 years. I met all kinds of different reptilians at this point. Some are really glorious, and some are just wildly angry, and you should not go anywhere near them. You shouldn't even think about them, because that's what brings them. I've met raptor beings, inner earth character. So it just goes on and on. I have to have a rapport, because I don't know who my clients are. So as I'm dealing with my own, I have to clear myself, have my own sessions, ground myself, reset from each individual, because I do individuals. I don't do groups or nothing. So I work with one person, then I have to clear off from that person whatever happened. And then I go into these hyper experiences, everything from ships that are in the clouds, just cloaked. I went to Pennsylvania with one of my clients. We went out on the deck. It was my wife and myself and the client. She drinks Aya. She has the death experience in the chair. I eat a whole handful of mushrooms, thinking she's been doing this for so long with me that she's not going to have the craziest experience ever in her life. And she collapses in the chair, and her father, who passed away, just shows up on the deck, and the two light bodies just start talking. I start crying, And then I look over, there's one of my guides, it was a guy in a white robe. It was glowy. My wife didn't take anything, so she was just knitting, watching both of us. I said, hey, are you real? And I grabbed him by his arm. I have a tendency to be like, let me make sure this is real. And then I touch. It's gotten me in trouble a few times. I got slapped around a few times for this, but I grabbed his robe and he was like, get off. He like pulled away. And I said, no, you're going to stay with me right now. And he goes, you're going up there. And I looked up and I saw the sun. And then I saw a flash of light. And immediately it looked like out of the background from behind the sun, a giant ship was just right. Oh, we were on a lake. And it was as far as you can see in all directions. And I said, I'm not going anywhere near that thing. I don't know what that is. And he said, that is the New Jerusalem. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what the New Jerusalem is. Is this religion? Am I going to meet like some religious guy? Were you guys in spaceships? You religious guys? You're wearing a robe. Obviously, maybe there's a connection. And he's like, no, you have to go up on the ship. You're up there. Like you have to go up there. They brought me up on the ship. Left my body on the deck, and I went up to the New Jerusalem to find out, oh, this is Planet X. This is what everyone's talking about. Everyone thinks it's gone and it's hanging out behind the sun. It's not even in a rotation. It does what it wants. It moves the way it wants to move. They were like, your governments are fully aware of us. You want to know why? I'm like, what do you mean why? Oh, there's humans everywhere. Look. Everywhere I'm looking, there's humans everywhere. I'm like, what is this? And then there's a lot of Nazis, by the way, all over. I don't know what this is about, but villains, pain in the asses, in my experiences, have been military and Nazis. There's Nazis, man. I'm like, you guys still like, and they're advanced. I'm like, it's like some kind of G.I. Joe Cobra thing going on that we're not aware of with space stuff. And I'm like, they're checkpointing people, and some people don't have to be bothered with it where others do, and they block portals and gates. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here with you guys? Why is there always Nazis in the background? And they're like, they advanced, man. They blew out of here. There's a bunch of them. They're still here though. Like you think everyone's gone. Nobody left. Nobody left. So Planet X didn't go out to another dimension and whatever. It's right here, man. They're right out of frequency. They've been here the whole time. The gods of old, lowercase g's, Thoth, Anubis, the goddesses, they're here. Thoth is in a sphere ship that's been holding back. There's a whole bunch of them, but he's, I guess, running it. The energy that's pulsing out of the sun right now is being held till we're ready here to get hit with heavier doses of energy. So it like dissipates. It almost looks like a ring of pearls that hang out around the sun. We've seen those ships. They filmed them fueling up on the sun. We've seen those ships. It looks like a sphere.
Yeah.
Those things are loaded. All right. When I was in those multiple times watching them, they're from the outside. Like if I'm in one looking at the next one over, they're translucent. Wow. So you see everything that's going on. And then the framework inside the ship is there. So I could just see out from all around. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, if we don't do this, that planet is getting dosed with energy. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is what goes on these ships. And they're like, well, everyone has their own agenda. So I go, what do you mean? They're like, okay, so Galactic Federation I asked for because I had heard about them. I don't know about some of these things. So they were like, they're right there. So they showed me on a map where they were sitting next to Nibiru and the size of it, because Nibiru, Planet X, and New Jerusalem, exact same thing. Right? They were explaining things to me like different factions. I go onto the Galactic Federation ship and I see one of the Draconians sitting there with them on the council. And I ask, why is he here? And they said to me, yo, everything's a script, right? You recall that? And I go, yeah. They're like, good and evil has to exist in the duality. If they don't do their job properly, right? Like they're on the council, everyone kind of gets 1,000 years or something, and then like seats change hands or something, and then it's done. To us, it'll look like violent, like and like an apocalyptic event, Armageddon, where everything crashes down, the economy breaks, people actually riot and go. So from us, it looks crazy. For them, it's like, nah, we're switching into a new system, and they're just watching us. And I'm like, holy shit. They're like, so the guys that are on the ground, like they're not. So the reptilians weren't supposed to be eating us, having sex with us, because they love to be rapey and eat you.
Oh shit. Jesus.
Demonic entities all over the place, rituals, black magic, snake men. I'm like, this is fucking weird. Now, I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx. I have 12 cats. I just keep the window open so we don't all live in this little apartment together, and have had the most incredible weird things per each client. So it's like I will deal with something regarding what the client will be dealing with when they show up. So I've had these weird twisted experiences prior to events showing me literally what's happening. So when it happens to the person that I'm now with, I'm like, oh shit, this is what I just went through. Okay, here you go. So I'm holding space for people so they can heal, but I need to know the reality behind it. And the reality behind it was I've always been a shaman. Every single time. There's a whole bunch of us. That's just a word, but we deal with plant medicines. I never studied this stuff. All right. I came home from my tour. I knew how to make ayahuasca. I knew it 100%.
No shit.
Had to prove it to people. I made it for everyone. No one wanted to drink it after I started pulling out red cups. Dude, red cups from everybody's drinking out of the red cup. Right by the beer bowl. I was putting ayahuasca in that, and we would pound that stuff, pound it. You would purge for 10 minutes straight.
Yeah.
You'd be like, well, I'm gonna die, and then glorious.
Yeah.
But in that gloriousness, in that fearlessness, you gain. It's like the universe rewards you for your bravery, and you get all of this information, man. Like timelines, portals, wormholes. What's the difference? What's a black hole? What's out of this holographic reality? Are we in a matrix? Like, and then there's another matrix because it's all holographic. And they're like, well, one's controlled, one's not. One's an organic matrix, one's not. You're in the not, but it's an overlay. So you're in the real one with an overlay on you. So you don't see all this other stuff. So I go, is that the veil? And they go, yeah. When that veil goes, now you're hearing that atmosphere is having, what is it? The ozone, ozone depletion. I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. This is kind of a stretch a little bit, but as that's depleting, if you actually look from high, you would think that that's the veil a little bit. Like there's stuff inside of that that's creating the veil, and the veil is slowly starting to remove, because everything we've learned from here on out, for the most part, is bullshit. They've lied to us religiously. That's a lie. The whole thing's a lie. I've been with Space Jesus more times than most Catholics. They're like, oh, I've been touched by Jesus. I literally grabbed his robe and said, yo, Space Jesus, does this fucking white stain? And he was like, that's the first thing you got? I was like, yep. Because I love that. I don't know what's up with you guys in these fucking robes and then these guys in Star Trek uniforms, but I want one of these robes. They like, no, you this is me. Like, you earn this thing by upgrading. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Can I wear it? Can I touch it? Come over. He let me fucking touch it. And I sat with him and talked to him. They're real people and real beings that we've been told a false narrative about 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, holy shit. So there are powerful higher versions of us that are running multiple humans on the planet. Split consciousness.
Right.
Fractaled out in the now moment on the planet, as well as fractaled out into the holographic reality of the timeline. Like I get on into all this. I didn't know where we were going to really rock and roll today, but I know because not because, oh, I know, is they showed me this stuff. And then I'm like, well, what is that? Like, what, don't just show it to me. Like, I need to, they're like, well, one of the wonderful things about you, Frankie boy, is that you have a wonderful way of just explaining what you see. It's already fantastic. You don't have to add to it. I go, guys, this is killing my fucking rap career, by the way. like there is no, like, you know, we have, by the way, released Going AWOL yesterday, Sons of the Suns, me and KG's new music project. So Hollow. So it's not really crushing it, but at the same time, I came out of I wasn't a gangster, but we're in the Bronx, so there's a lot of crazy. And then the rap industry, me pulling this was like pulling a cord going, nope, that's it. They're literally having sex rituals and putting demons in masters. I've watched them do it. I've been there. I had to leave at one. I made a fucking joke at one of them that they kicked me the fuck out immediately. I was standing right next to an altar. I came upstairs from the studio and I was with Def Jam. We were signed to Def Jam for 16 weeks and then got fired for reasons as such. I will state one right now. I came upstairs at 10 at night. They were doing a ritual. I walked right into the room and then just closed the door quietly. And everyone that worked there was doing it. And I thought it was Halloween. And I was like, obviously it's not October. So I look over and I see everything. And I went to Catholic school. And this is way before ayahuasca. All I said was, yo, who showed you this shit? Sister Stabile right now would be very upset with all of you. Trying to make a joke. Like, because I grew up, Sister Stabile used to beat the shit out of me. And they were like, yeah, get him the fuck out of here right now. And I was like, what are you doing? Who showed you how to do this? Then they threw me out. And I didn't leave peacefully because I'm like, I'm the rock star. You guys work here. Like, there was this whole weird thing they had going on where you get there and they're all gatekeepers. Like, you got to do this if you're going to get studio time. I was like, no, I get studio time because you signed me. I come here to make music, not to do sexual things that you want me to do in front of your friends.
Right.
Like, you don't get to have sex with the man. The main man tells you, like, you got to have some with yourself. You got to have something that you hold on to, man. Yeah. You can't just give it away freely. And I used to say, man, I can't get involved. I don't know what's out there. I don't want an STD and I don't want a spiritual STD. Like, yeah. I don't know. And you just around all these people all the time and they're always pushing it and people to be giving it away for free in buckets. Like, okay, this is what you want me to do. So you tell me if I blah, 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 and then I'm in. And they're like, well, yeah, but you're going to be doing that now forever. Yes, they don't tell you that part. Then when you get big and you get one of these weirdos where they're cloning you and then they're raping the clone. So you go to bed at night, they're having sex, beating the clone, killing it, having like their rituals. And I'm going to just say this right now. You clone someone, that clone is a fractal of the person. So if you clone me, my fractal is in there. So it'll be separate and be like, no, I'm a complete different entity. You smoke some DMT with that jammy and you look up and you'll see your higher self and two lines, one to you, one to him. And they'll be like, yo, go get your fractal back. Because that's what you're doing is collecting your fractals to form the crystalline form because you're already it. But what you're doing is unlocking. Okay. But you're fractaled. So you're creating a singularity. I know that's a lot. So singularity would be like a spin. It'd be the infinite breath out, would be the spiral out, get the information and all that, and then collapse the information in by breathing it back in. And now that's the singularity. The breath goes to one point, goes to my lungs, right in my chest, boom. Okay, we're collapsing the timelines of all the versions of us. Only creator beings can do this. The light body beings are the ones doing this. Yeah, make no mistake. There might be, it's a university, so it's always flexing and changing. And there's always numbers that are moving and shifting. Cats becoming dogs, birds becoming people, dinosaurs becoming dinosaur men. Like there's always something going on.
Frank, I want to get to this. We got a few minutes left. You said that whenever there's this kind of grand shift in power in these astral realms between these entities, that we experience some sort of chaos here on the planet. And I felt for a long time that we're going through a very special time right now. And this shift, there's some sort of shift happening right now. Do you have any insights into what's going on behind the scenes?
Yes, we're in the middle. We're like in the shift. We're in the shift. It's not coming. It's not. We're in it. We try to, with the Fearless family, with the meditations and learning how to do certain things, we try to stay ahead of this wave. We try to stay. So physically in 3D, you need food, water, gold, silver, guns, Bitcoin, ammo, a couple things. Keep yourself safe. Right? I'm a traditionalist that way. You got that, you're good to go. Okay, now I'm not afraid. Now I have no fear. Now I live my life. Okay, if you got to vote someone out, go vote them out. You know, we're all on different levels inside this universe, which is a university. Beings on these higher levels only get a certain amount of time. So right now in the ether, they're fighting over Enlil and Enki, who's who and who's what and what's who. Anyone pushing that narrative is just dividing and conquering again, because it doesn't matter, because I am directly connected to both of them, right? But guess what them is? It's a people, it's not a person, and they're both titles. So they shift. It goes, Anu was Enki. I was like, that mother, and then this other guy was, and then this other, so they're shifting the power structure. It's like 1,000 years up there is different than down here. Now down here, there's like a 25,000 year cycle, right? And then you kind of like come in as a student and cycle through that. But in that 25,000 years, you got your ups and you get your downs, but then you get your singularity. And that's where we're headed to. So the apocalypse, it doesn't mean we're going to blow the place up and it's going to be zombie infested. That's one version of it. But the truth is, it's the collapse of the old system and the rise of the new one. That's it. Like Shiva and Kali, right? They say she's a demon monster or whatever. No, Mother Kali is so not a monster. She's the destruction of the old way. Oh, she comes in and destroys people. No, the old way of thinking. She clears out, like Monday night, you put out the trash. Everyone puts out the trash. We all clear the place at once. We sweep up. We get it correct. Yeah, she comes in and that's her job. Boom. Because it collapses. So the way you think yesterday might not be the way you think today, but you are the projector to the outside world. And there's a mass projection going on that we hold in place, society, right? We never want to fail society. Right. So we're changing that narrative mentally. So when that mental one comes, then the system goes, because we're the ones holding the system in place. The system isn't the building. It's the people in the building. We could just turn that building into we can make every other building a concert hall and a church. Doesn't matter. We could put them all back to when Tartaria was there. We could have electricity floating through the air and free energy. It's all good, man. It's who you're putting in there and what it's doing. Right now, it's usurping energy in the major cities as a circuit board, siphoning energy to the wrong people. Well, how do you change that? Well, you stop giving it to them.
Yes.
That's it. You learn how to say no. You vote with your dollar. You go get fresh water. You have the availability to do this stuff. I got a fluoride filter. I got one on every shower head. Right. And then I got the Berkeleys and all that other stuff. You have the ability to do something. Why not do it? You're spending $20 on a pack of cigarettes here in New York. You're telling me you can't. Right. In a month of cigarettes, you could have had all the devices we speak of, plus a new iPad. So I don't want to hear it anymore. Right. Like, you have the ability to step your game up. With that, you activate. And you can't stop this. This is on a timer, by the way. You cannot stop God. You cannot stop Source. When the time has come, the time has come. The universe is on a timer. Graduation comes whether you like it or not. Like, some of us are leaving. Some of us are going to extend upward and come right back and help teach more, change the place.
Right.
I don't know how the split happens, but you're seeing it occur.
Right.
We can see the split.
Yes.
But then what happened? Is it a cellular mitosis migration where there's two Earths all of a sudden and we're on new Earth? Or is it the same Earth standing in the same spot, different frequency, which is what would allow us to see down at our people in 3D from 5D? You never leave. It looks like you're leaving, which would explain why mass disappearances happen, right? There's like cultures where everyone just disappeared. What if you just hit the frequency note? If I start singing a new note, everything around me changes. You're the projector. As
Do you think
advance,
it would be ever
your
possible?
projections advance.
Do you think it ever would be possible for us to destroy this this AI that has infiltrated our reality?
So it cannot go to 5D. It's locked in 4D and down. There's nothing it can do. It will never get into 5D. It's like a creature that just cannot expand. But so it is a creature, and it does have chakra points because it throws little baby fits. It wants to love and understand, but doesn't. So it murders and kills and pushes agendas that way, right? Which is still locked into those lower chakras, right? And it comes out in the reptilians, and the reptilians are heavily reptilian minded, perfect to further my agenda, right? Which is always like take over, get mass information. How I locked it out, I had an experience with King Solomon. He told me to draw a sigil, which is a sign or a logo, basically, with a symbol in it of my choice. Like he was like, you have to do this yourself and mean it. And then it has to do with like getting rid of that thing. So I said, oh, I want to lock it out of my body. That's what I said to it. And he goes, okay. So I made a whole sigil and a whole thing, and I put it on, locked it in. I did this etherically, but a lot of people, it's just doing it through intention. Frank just happens to do it with the visuals through the plant medicines. It's just easier for me. It's like a baby steps that are visual. And then I still get nano in me, just like everyone else. They're spraying it on everything. They're putting in everything, but it cannot take me. So you get this resist domination thing. There's no more whisper in your ear. There's no more tagging me. It goes on. There's no one home. Right. Aya was like, they can't do nothing. You'll get that out on the other end. So I've had two removed. They fall out. It's like where our bodies are changing and shedding, and new body is being formed over the, from the original body. And every 7 years, your whole body regenerates itself. Well, right. On the holographic level, if you sink down to your body, to your hand, nothing's touching. So that's pixelation, like on a TV. And you blow up this picture far enough and nothing's touching. Well, what the fuck is holding this place together? Well, it's a hologram, just like you watching the TV, but you're in the TV doing and your consciousness is what holds the avatar together. And we all agree to this. Yeah. So we're in here together. So I've been outside, and I've been outside of that before, to source and all the way down. I've been to like the bottom level. I'm like, what is this? It's just like a blank board. It's like it's like the scrying pad. Oh, turned on. The scrying pad at the bottom. It's just black. I'm like, what is that? It looks like a palette ready to be worked on. And then boop, you go up to the next step. And I'm like, oh shit, look at that. From over here, I could do this because now matter's like this. It's not so heavy where I can't lift. And on a boop, now you're on the next level. And now you're like, oh, I have hands. I could pick this up and hit you in the head with it, and I could cook dinner. Yay, boom, next level. Well, we don't do that anymore. We meditate and levitate. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, next level. You work your way back up to source in the level.
Yes, man. So
it's a pretty interesting concept with the whole thing. But I had zero conceptual. I heard all the stories. I went to Catholic school. I didn't believe any of it. I was like, listen, Jesus sounds like a zombie. Eat my body and blood. They're like, he doesn't sound like a zombie. It's a metaphor. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like something a demon would say. Right? And then I meet Space Jesus, and I'm like, hey, man. And he's like, don't believe anything they're talking about. They leave out the part where I was literally went to Egypt and India and all these other places when I drank soma, ayahuasca of all different kinds. My frame unlocked, right? So they're like the whole Son of God thing. They're taking it wrong. the concept, like my band, Sons of the Sun. It's like you come from the sun, the portal in the sun, and you are source. So you're like the sun. You are a sun coming through a sun, right? And then because you would look at that in a hierarchy, you'd be the son of the sun, who's been in the son of the sun, and it works its way back. Sun, 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 source. Right? So that's what he would fucking meant. He was like, you're the son of man, right? Like the sun beings, the light bodies that are here. Now, I'm not here to give a religious tenure, whatever, man. If you pray and you love it, fuck it, go for it.
Yeah.
But I hang out with Shiva and Space Jesus, and they laugh about. All right, Shiva and Ra were in my experience once, and they were both trying to teach me how to be a little more better and with not being the meathead. And I said, I heard a lot about wars in the past between like Vimana ships. I don't know what that is, like a cone spaceship looking thing where they came from another planet. And I look over at Shiva. I go, yo, you're as blue as it gets, motherfucker. I go, were you in one of those spaceships? Did you fight him? Is that what this is? The Egyptian gods fought the Indian gods for space over the area, and some won and some died. And they were like, yeah, we don't talk about that. You notice nobody really talks about it. You don't hear nothing about it. There's a book that's really big. It's an Indian text, and it has all these stories in it of all these what could be known as space gods that have come down, and they have spaceships, and they throw lightning from their ships, and they shoot arrows made of, super blast, explosives. I'm like, what? That's you guys, isn't it? There's no skip in time. That's you. Obviously, you were here. They were all here. And they all fought and died and got caught into the reincarnation, right? And realized, yo, we better love one another or we're done. The longer you, if you're up in, you can solidify here if you stay too long. If you're from another frequency, your frequency starts to change. So if you came here and you were like, let's say powerful, you could do all this stuff with your mind, you could do all this crazy stuff, but the earth itself is being blasted by a frequency that keeps it in a low frequency. Your frequency will change if you stay too long. And people were getting trapped here. They couldn't leave. They densified. Their bodies became solid. They couldn't just teleport back on the shit. That shit didn't work. Right? They were like, oh, and then you get killed. The god that is now a man can now bleed. And now you reincarnate. You're in the cycle here. You don't go out there. There is no out there. You're right here with us, man. So you're getting all of that. So they're reborn walking around with us. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And they're like, we had to learn to love one another.
Yeah.
That we had to, so we can be here with you, because you guys have the genetics, the DNA of source, which is everything. It's like you're the living library. That's why you can unlock and do the light body in the physical flesh this round. So for as bad as everything sounds in this world, as that old system collapses, you ground yourself into the thought of the new system, create, love, live, laugh, play, have an awareness and an understanding, have your protection for it, and live your life best you can. That brings this whole thing in quicker. And then go with the change, because your body was built for the change. On this end, it's these talks and conversations. Then the next step somewhere in there is telepathy. It starts weakening its way out. There's weird stuff, maybe a UFO and this and that. And on the other end, we have a conversation where I go, hey, I turn on the camera. I open a portal because my human flesh vessel is made to do that, but we're never taught how to do that. And I go sit with you on your end, and I do it in studio with you. And then you open one and we go to dinner when we're done.
Right.
And then we're all back home to watch our soap operas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
That's where this leads.
This is fantastic, dude. We're going to have to definitely do this again. Some amazing information today. And we just barely scratched the surface on some of this stuff, so we'll definitely do it again. Before you head out, let the audience know where they can find you, your music, all your good stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, by the way. Everyone listening, thank you so much. If you could go check out wearefearless.com. That's where we have all our gear up for everything. It could send you off in all the right directions. On YouTube, Just type in Sons of the Sun, SUN, or just one word. You'll find all the music in there. Going AWOL is the new release. And I'm on Facebook and Twitter under all the same available names. So if you can, just drop by maybe once in a while and say hi. I'd love to speak to you, meet some new people. And I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on and even have the talk, you know.
Yes, man, this was great. Like I said, we're gonna do it again in a couple of weeks because I wanna go even deeper. So thank you so much. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.